Fellow SRT4 owners, welcome to another episode. This is Alex, the car guy, and today we're going to talk about clutches for the SRT4. The first thing I want to point out is that there are two types of clutches for the Dodge Neon SRT4. One of the type of clutches is a modular clutch, and the other type is a non-modular clutch. What I have in front of me is a non-modular clutch. This clutch happens to be by ACT. Now let's talk about the non-modular clutch first. This is pretty much like a conventional clutch setup. You have a flywheel that is separate by itself, and the flywheel has an integrated ring gear for the starter to kick the engine. Then after that, you got the clutch disc. This goes in here, and then you take the pressure plate and bolt that up, sandwiching the clutch disc in between. So now all this entire assembly is mounted to your engine. This is a fairly easy install in the SRT4. The only thing that it does increase a little bit how much sticks out. So you have the engine and now you have this thing mounted to the engine. So when you bring in the transmission, I have to bring it up and over the pressure plate. It makes the transmission installation a little bit more difficult, but not too bad. However, it does hit the pressure plate as I'm bringing it up, so you can see how this was very nice and beautiful in yellow, and you can see where the case has hit that or scratched that as I'm pulling it over. But besides that, it is pretty easy to install. Now let's talk about the advantages of the non-modular clutches. Well, first thing that you see is that because the non-modular clutches are made out of several pieces, any component can be swapped out independently. So if all of a sudden my clutch disc works out, I can just put in a new clutch disc, assuming that these two parts are good. Or if my pressure plate goes out, I can just purchase another pressure plate and reuse the other components, assuming that they are good. So it's a serviceable clutch. Now these things are a little bit more pricey. This thing retail for about $700. So it is quite a bit more than a modular clutch. However, if you're just buying one of the components, it's not that much. For example, just the pressure plate will be about $250. Now, let's look at the other type of clutch, which is the modular clutch. This is the type of clutch that came with the SRT4 from the factory. So in front of me now I have the modular clutch. This is the clutch setup as the SRT4 came from the factory. You have on the engine this flex plate, and that flex plate has the ring gear. So this is mounted to the engine, and the starter is going to turn this flex plate. When you are doing a clutch change on a SRT4 that assuming is stock, this stays with the transmission. You'll notice that this will be facing this way like this, and when you bring your transmission out, this is going to come out with it. This is only mounted to the flex plate by 4 bolts that are going to go in here. The advantage of that is that it makes the installation fairly easy, because all you have to do is take this entire assembly, slide it into the transmission like that, and then lift the entire transmission. The transmission, because there's nothing that sticks out, you just lift straight up until it lines up, and you bolt the flywheel onto this ring flex plate, and installation is done. Obviously, I could see why Dodge made it like this. He probably made it easy at the factory to install and faster to also service this car if it needed to be changed out at a dealership. You just swap out this entire assembly. You can see that the assembly has the flywheel, the clutch disc inside, and the pressure plate all mounted in one assembly. This is pretty heavy, and you'll probably notice that there's really no screws. I only see rivets here. And the fact that you only see rivets on here, and the fact that this is a modular system, it means that you can't really service it. So if the clutch disc internally wears out, good luck trying to get that one out. If your pressure plate fails, good luck separating that from the flywheel. Can't resurface the flywheel, so it is probably not gonna be a serviceable item. Now, there are some things that concern me during installation. For example, because this is only, you slide this into the splines of the transmission. If you lift up the transmission and for some reason you tilt it, this can potentially slide out. And this is very heavy, so if this slides out and you're underneath the car and this hits you in the face, I probably think it's gonna hurt you, if not kill you. So that's kind of scary, but I never had that issue. Just something that always worried me, that how easily something like this can slide out. But you gotta also think about how cheap this thing is. This thing, I got this for about $200. The original Dodge Clutch was made by this company called Sachs. And you could buy the clutch today still from Mopar, and it was gonna be basically a Sachs clutch. Or in my case, I bought it directly from them through Rock Auto, and you save substantially. I got this clutch, this entire assembly, for about $200. So the huge advantage of it, this is a very, very easy, affordable replacement. And even if a component fails, you buy this entire system again for 200 bucks, you'll slap it on and you are good to go. You'll never have to take a flywheel, take a resurface. You'll never be swapping out clutch discs because it's a full assembly. Now, is this the right clutch for you or not? Here's the thing. These clutches from the factory are pretty good, but they can only handle so much. If your SRT4 has minor bolt-ons, let's say intake, exhaust, Diablo Sport tuning, any of those things that are gonna be in the range of maybe 50, 60 horses, this is gonna be perfect for you. You have a nice soft pedal feel and you have enough grab. As soon as you go to a bigger turbo, this is not the right clutch for you. This clutch, I heard people have said that it probably holds in excess of 300 foot-pounds of torque. So you're probably looking at 300 to 330 foot-pounds of torque. So it holds quite a bit. If you're going to a big turbo, or if you want to go make more power than that, you are going to want to upgrade to something bigger. And when you go to the bigger clutches, you're going to have a couple options. You're going to have the clutch option of going to a non-modular system like the ACT, or you're gonna be able to buy a modular system that can handle more power. Clutch Masters makes such systems. Clutch Masters sells a system that looks a lot like this, except that it's upgraded to hold more power. And they sell them in stages. You have a Clutch Master Stage 1, a Stage 2, and a Stage 3. Each one's holding more power. However, I don't have an experience with Clutch Masters, and in fact, I have heard not really good things about them. The street rep is not very good, but because I have not had any first-time experience, I can't really opinionate, but anything just from what I heard from people. So I wouldn't really recommend going that route. However, if I'm wrong, if you have one and it's kicking butt, leave me a comment in the description. Let us know that what your experience with Clutch Masters is. After that, you have the ACT clutch. The ACT clutch seems to be about the most popular clutch for SRT4s because they hold a lot of power. This particular clutch setup right here is the ACT HD setup. I had this setup in my car with a full Stage 3 Mopar setup, and I had it for about 80,000 miles, and man, this thing worked great. I mean, it grabs on smoothly, so it doesn't jank, and has good bite and has room to grow. This clutch is rated around 465 foot-pounds of torque. The Mopar Stage 3 doesn't take it that far, so I still have room to grow. The pedal did get heavier, so it is not fun to daily drive a car with this thing, but it's doable. And if you want a little bit more power, they do have the next level up, which basically they just swap out this disc for you. They send you a different disc that has a different material that is more grabby. That clutch can handle close to 590 something foot-pounds of torque. So if you are planning a lot of power, consider one of the ACT clutches with either the street disc or the next disc up that handles a lot more power. However, the other one will be grabby, and if you don't know what you're doing when you're letting go of the clutch, you can potentially stall. And here's the thing, you gotta think about the trade-off between a clutch that meets your needs and a clutch that is still enjoyable to drive your car, whether it's a daily driver or where you're taking it to the track. Most recently, there has been some clutch that have come out from a company called South Bend. I have not heard of any South Bend clutches experiences, so I don't know if they're good or bad. If you have one of these clutches, let us know in the comments if it's working out for you or not. And they're also sold online. I'll put a list on the description to each one of the clutches that you saw here below, and you can take a look at one of those. So that's it, guys. I hope this answers a little bit of your questions about the clutch setups for Dodge SRT4. If you have not subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing. I have a lot more SRT4 videos coming up. Thanks again for your support, guys. Until next time.